Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Welcome. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica, and I'm Jessica. How are we doing? How's everybody doing today? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, from wherever it is you are joining us from. It is currently evening time, Monday, January 16th, over this way yonder. It is the last day of this 3-day weekend. It has been a chill day here. Haven't done a whole lot of anything, as you can tell. Nope, haven't done a whole lot of anything. But we are working on this Alexander Jackson trial. This young man was charged with 3 first-degree murder charges against, he was charged with the murder of his mom, dad, and younger sister. The incident took place back in June of 2021. This trial is current. It started last Friday, which was January 13th. It was the Friday the 13th. So, he is being charged with 3 first-degree murder counts for those 3 unalivings. He claims that there was an intruder in his home, and he fought with said intruder, and during that fight, he was shot in the foot. They have, so far, prosecution has called up a couple neighbors, and I think that's it. Was a couple neighbors so far. And now it was a couple neighbors, and it is the first, well, one of the officers on scene, one of the first responding officers. And they are currently talking to him on direct examination. The previous video was the first part of his direct exam, and this video is after lunch continuation of his direct exam, and I am not 100% sure how long this goes on. It appears he is on the stand for the remainder of this day. So it will probably be cut up again because we are only a little over halfway through this day. And this is just day 1. So yep. Try not to go too long on these videos because it does tend to get a little bit too much. So I will try to cut it off at an hour if there's a good stopping point. Before that, like if his direct is done right at like 45 minutes or an hour, I'll stop it. Try to get through his direct, or if there's a break, something like that, just like a natural cutoff, and then get into it some more on the next video. Try to keep up with these every day if I can. Might be a little behind, I don't know. Like I said, should be interesting. So, if you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. Just a reminder that I am not a legal professional. I do not specialize in any legal anything. I am just here to give my commentary on just things. I just say things. I just talk through it, and if I have questions, I have questions, and maybe in the comments, if I have questions, you can answer them. If you know the answers, sometimes you might have questions, and I might pipe up and have an answer. Who knows? But mostly, I just talk. Mostly, I just add my commentary and my judgments and my critical opinion on what they're doing, even though I can't do the job. Well, I could probably do the job, maybe not well, but I could maybe be a lawyer. I don't know that it would be completely right, but I could probably do it. I can argue with the best of them. So yeah, so again, let me know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure and hit that like and subscribe while you're at it, because that also helps grow the channel and get the content out there so other people can come in and like and subscribe and watch. Okay, so we'll let us get started. And down over there, and we're gonna put that there, and we're just gonna press play and jump right in. Pretty sure this is right after lunch. Hopefully the audio is good. I'm turning up the court audio. This is him right there. Pretty sure. This is Defense Taylor. So I'm pretty sure that's him. This was the lawyer that did the opening statement. He was pretty feisty.
Are you guys ready as soon as we have the jurors? Okay. Yeah. Actually, nothing needed. Kathy was going to let Terry know we're ready whenever they're all ready.
The judge is always messing with his nose, though. Like, constantly.
No. You're going to. I'm going to. Really?
Talking to the defendant, talking to the witness. He's talking about bringing a stuffed animal into court. And they were asking him if he's ever spoke at conferences before. Being real chummy with him.
Everybody? All right, we have everybody back after lunch. I hope you were all able to get some food and enjoy your lunch break. Ladies and gentlemen, you may recall that when we broke, Officer Buckles was testifying. He's back at the stand. And Officer Buckles, I'm not going to swear you in again. I'm just going to remind you, sir, that you are still under oath.
Yes.
And with that, Mr. Scheer, you may resume your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Buckles, when we left off, we were talking
Off
about
the buckles.
the portion of State's Exhibit number 2 where you and your K-9 partner, Corso, were about ready to enter into the 4414 residence. When we watched that body cam footage, you walked in and gave a command to somebody to show their hands. You recall that?
Yes, I do.
Who were you talking to when you gave that command?
The individual that
Oh.
was laying on the floor,
And that individual was later identified as Jan Jackson, correct?
the father of the family, yes.
Why did you give a command to someone that had blood coming out of their head?
Because of the information that I had received from dispatch for this call, while en route to the call and while on scene the call outside of this residence, that there was, from the information that I had received, I believe that there was only one individual inside of the house, and that would have been the individual on the phone with dispatch.
And who did you eventually discover was the person that was on the phone with dispatch?
Once I was giving those commands to the individual, because that's the first individual I came across, and I gave him commands because his hands were underneath him. But at that point, I could hear a voice, but it sounded like it was coming farther down the hallway. And therefore is when it clicked to me that this person was deceased and appeared to be deceased, and that there was another individual in the house who was.
He can't make that
individual
call.
asking for
The
help.
coroner
And
does.
that's when I communicated with the other officers, Sergeant Hansen that was on the other side of the living room area there. And then from his viewpoint is when he was, I believe, just able to see the individual in the hallway. And then I heard him say something in regards to seeing somebody else down the hallway.
And do you remember who that person was identified that was down the hallway?
Alexander Jackson?
And do you see Mr. Jackson in the courtroom today?
I do.
Would you just please point to that person and describe the color of shirt and suit jacket that person is wearing today?
The individual at the end of the table there with the dark suit, and I believe it looks kind of like a lighter, maybe goldish colored shirt underneath.
So the individual seated to my left with the goatee?
Yes.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness may identify the defendant.
The record so reflects.
And so once you enter into the home, as we saw on State's Exhibit number 2, when you locate multiple individuals in the basement and eventually discover other deceased individuals, what is your reaction?
At this point, I'm realizing that we have a situation that's way more than just an individual that's been shot in the foot.
And what are you and other officers doing in State's Exhibit number 2 when you're going from one room to another room?
We are trying to get to Mr. Jackson, who was on the phone that was injured because he was shot in the foot. However, we are trying to move through the residence in a safe manner, clearing the residence for any possible other people that would be in the residence that could harm officers. So we're making our way through the residence as the other officers are clearing what I would call like a bedroom and a back storage room of the residence when they go off of the living room area. And once officers were able to get up to the hallway and the stairway, then that's when I'm going to then go upstairs to help officers clear the residence and take Corso with me.
And so are you conducting what's referred to as a protective sweep?
Yes.
And once again, can you just explain to me in like layman terms, what is a protective sweep?
Protective sweep is just pretty much going through a residence or a building where you go into each area, each bedroom, closet, all that stuff, just to make sure that there's nobody inside of that structure that could harm officers.
Making my
You're not
way
necessarily performing a
downtown.
thorough search, are you?
No.
Have you been involved in other cases dealing with alleged break-ins?
Yes.
And so are you familiar with what to kind of look for or see if you can observe when you're doing protective sweeps or just general sweeps of residents?
Yes.
What are things that you're kind of looking for?
Well, first is your point of entry, which in this case was
Audio's
the back
weird.
door of the
It's
residence.
crackling.
The door was open upon my arrival. To my recall, I did not see any form of damage to the door or the door frame that stood out to me that would make me believe that that door was damaged upon somebody breaking into the residence if they did need to use force to make entry into the residence. The other thing that stood out to me was the house was very nice, very clean, very organized, and there was nothing that appeared to be disturbed, knocked over, broken, as if somebody broke in and has encountered multiple individuals inside of a residence. Usually there's some form of, disturbance inside the house that causes things to be out of place.
Did you observe or see if anything appeared to be had been opened or looked through?
The only thing that stood out to me that appeared to be opened was right when you enter into the basement door, the fireplace was to the right, and on the brick of the fireplace was a box of ammunition that had been poured out onto the brick in front of the fireplace.
Did you observe any shell casing or other ammunition throughout the house?
When I had placed Corsa back in my
That's
squad car and I
weird.
came back to the back door of the residence and stepped into the living room area, at that time I did see some spent shell casings on the floor just inside the back door behind the couch.
Did you go anywhere else in the house to look at the other areas that were searched by officers?
I had stepped in initially there where those shell casings were, and then I noticed that the room to the bedroom to the left there was full of lots of items. Therefore, I just stepped in with my flashlight because it was dark and just kind of glanced around with my flashlight to just kind of do a secondary sweep of that room to make sure that nobody would have been hiding in that room due to the amount of stuff that was in there.
Did you get a chance to look at the firearm that was located next to Jan Jackson's body?
I did see the firearm laying on the ground to the side of Mr. Jackson's body. From the viewpoint, when I came over and I stopped with Corsa and held her while the other officers were moving throughout the basement. And then at the point that I picked Corsa up and I carried her so that I could get past Jan Jackson's body to the bottom of the stairs so that Corsa wasn't getting near the body or stepping in any kind of blood. As I walked past him, I also walked past the gun, still seeing it laying on the ground there.
Did you recognize what type of gun it was?
It was a long gun, but I wasn't familiar with anything else that stood out to me to be able to say what type of gun it was other than a long gun.
And it doesn't sound like you handled it much, but when you looked at it, could you tell how you could load the gun?
I didn't look at it close enough because I was so focused on, looking at, keeping my eyes on places where there could be a potential
Wow.
threat
This
of
master
anyone
bathroom,
walking or
though, in
threatening
this house
residents.
is super nice.
Why didn't you have Corsa search the house?
Because as I stated earlier, Corsa, when she deploys into a structure to search for a person, she is trained to locate
Oh,
body
they
odor.
do have the
Use
basement in this
body odor
house,
to
though.
locate the person. Therefore, if I would have deployed her into the residence from
Halderson,
the open door,
was it the
she
Halderson?
can't determine whether a person is a
They didn't
victim
have the
or whether
garage.
they're a suspect. She just goes off the body odor and locating the person. So knowing that we had an individual inside the residence who was on the phone with dispatch stating that he was injured, I could not deploy Corsa in this incident due to the fact for safety issues for the individual that was shot in the foot.
And with the shell casings that you said that you found by like the couch area,
Nice house.
where were those shell cases? Where exactly were they located?
I recall they were a few feet in from the door that we entered into,
Would they been on the side next to the coffee table or the one behind the couch?
behind the couch.
From entering the basement door to going to where those couches was there anything that would obstruct or prevent a person from entering and leaving without knocking something over?
A person could come in and go to the right or the left of the couch and be able to walk without running into stuff.
And when you observed the couches and the coffee table, did they appear to be moved or disturbed?
No.
After you did this initial protective sweep, what did you do next?
Are you asking once I put Corsa in the car and came back in the house?
Yes.
It's a nice house, but it's dated.
I glanced through
Need
that
some updates.
basement bedroom again that was dark with my flashlight.
I
stepped
think
back out.
they got a
measured
new
the living room area. At that time,
carpet.
Officer Barber came downstairs, and him and I spoke for a moment, just about what was going on, kind of where we needed to proceed from here. And then I exited the residence because we deemed the house to be clear and safe at that point, and we were going to stand by and wait for a search warrant to be prepared for the residence to continue a further investigation. And so I exited the residence.
Did you and your K9 partner, Corsa, did you guys do anything together?
Yes, we did.
What did you guys do together?
I then, at that point, was going to attempt to track off the information that we had on this call from the caller stating that the subject broke into the house and then was believed that he left out the back door. So I went back to my squad car after giving Corsa a break from being in the house, and I removed her from the squad car and prepared her for an attempted track.
And once again, you testified earlier today, this morning, that Corsa is certified to do tracking. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to me a little bit in detail what you and Corsa had to do in order to be certified to be able to track for individuals?
First through training, she's taught how to track. And then once we do our certification for tracking, at that time, tracking through NAPWADA, the certification program, they have set standards for the tracking scenario for that program. And their standards is a track that's approximately 400 yards long. It has 2 to 3 turns in it. It also has a cross track. The cross track is a separate
Wow, the
individual
houses across the
that did
street
not
are
lay the track. It has to
super nice.
go off to the side and then walk and
So then
come across
beside
the
the
track that
house
was laid
is
by
a
the track
wooded
layer,
area. There's
and the
nothing
dog has
beside it.
to
And then there's a
be able
street
to
beside
track
it.
past
So
that
it's like on a
cross
corner
track.
lot.
So the track is laid. It's unknown to
And then
myself,
there's
unknown
another
to
house
the
across the
dog.
street.
Has to sit for approximately
Super
45
nice
minutes,
house.
an hour.
It's like
due
the
to
shitty
discretion
house,
of the NAPWADA certified
but it's
judge.
nice. But it's
Once
like
that
the crappy
track
house
has
on
been
the
laid
block.
and is set for a set period of time,
I mean, it's a nice
the
house.
judge for NAPWADA would then tell me to get Corsa and prepare her for a track. At that moment, I
But
would
all the
remove
other
Corsa from the
houses are
squad car.
nicer.
I would go through my set routine of preparing her for a track. Her routine for
That
preparing for her
house
for a
is
track,
super nice.
I get her out, I let her have a few moments to just be a dog and go to the bathroom. That way she's not needing to go to the bathroom while she's trying to track. I then
That
place
house
a
is
harness on her
nice.
body. That is her tracking harness. She knows that when that harness goes on, that she is tracking over repetitions of time of training over and over again. I place the harness on her on her body. I walk her up to the
Sorry, this
area of
testimony
where
is
we are
boring
going
to
to
me.
attempt the track.
I'm house hunting.
The judge for
Not
NAPWADA
really.
would give me the general area
This house
of
is
a
nice.
starting point. It wouldn't be, this is your start point right here. This is the general area. Once Corsa and I approach to that area, I place her into an off position. I switch her long line leash from her collar on her neck to the
Wonder if
hook
this is
that is on the top of her
4417.
harness. At that point, I then give verbal announcements, which is protocol for our police department's guidelines. I give 2 loud verbal announcements identifying myself as a police officer with a canine and anybody in the area to sound off or they could possibly be bit. And then I give a last and final warning of this is your last and final warning, and I give that announcement again. That is a routine for Corsa. She knows when we do that, that's what we're getting ready to do. She's in the off relaxed position. Once I'm ready to go, I then give her command to her for
Oh, it
tracking.
is.
At that time, she will get up and go out and start sniffing the ground, searching to find that track. In the certification track, we have to locate the start of the track, and then Corsa has to be able to follow that track that was laid by the track layer. At some point during that track, she will come into contact with the cross track by the other individual. She has to be able to continue on that same track and not go off on a direction of the cross track. At the training tracks, like in this scenario, her Kong, which would be her reward toy, will be at the end of the track. So we have to track the unknown track until we locate that toy. And if we are able to find the track and track properly, stay with the track, and complete the track to the
Okay,
ends,
good job.
to
Like,
NAPWADA
was she
standards, then
used
you are
though?
certified in the tracking area.
How old is Corsa when she first begins to be trained on how to track?
Corsa was, I want to say she was 21 months approximately when I got her in May of 2019.
So almost
At
2.
that time, she came from the foreign countries and she came directly over to the United States through a kennel called Shallow Creek Kennels. The owner of the kennel went over to the foreign countries and selected dogs for his training courses, also selecting 3 dogs for our department. Corsa was selected for me and brought back to Pennsylvania. Once she arrived in Pennsylvania, I went out with Sergeant Bieber at the time and picked up Corsa along with the other 2 dogs, brought them back here to Cedar Rapids. And then after a couple days, just letting the dogs relax, Officer Schumann, who was on the canine unit, had completed a 12-week trainer's course. And Officer Schumann was going to train the dogs and train myself and the new handlers. That took place for 4 weeks where Corsa started to get imprinted on her explosive odors that she has to detect, her bite work, and she was taught to track at that time.
So Buckles, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're saying a lot and I appreciate it.
Yep.
But I kind of want to take a little bit step by step so it's a little bit clearer, okay?
Sorry, my ear itches. It paused.
So it sounded like you got her when she was 21 months to begin training.
Yep.
And so just kind of appreciate it, slow down, but just walk me through of how is a canine or how is Corsa trained to do proper tracking and explain that training and just let's break it down piece by piece, okay?
Okay.
So what's the first thing that she's
What-
shown or trained in order to perform a proper track?
Didn't
So
we
to start
already
with,
do this?
In that beginning of training is, to my knowledge, when she was first taught to track.
What the-
What you do is have somebody walk and scuff the ground. You bring the dog up and you place them into an off position. You give them the command to track. You keep them on a short leash. The dog is sniffing the ground. They start following that disturbed odor that's on the ground. You keep them
Okay, I
on a tight
get
line to
what
keep
you're
them
trying
right
to
on
say,
that
that they
line where the
tried to
person
track
walks. Usually going to be a
an
short, straight
intruder
line
and
to
they
start with.
didn't track an
At the end of
intruder
it,
because there
that
was no
short track
intruder.
will be their,
I get it.
toy.
And
Of course, this,
the
this
cranky
is
lady said you can't
she finds her
track
she
any
gets
concrete. I
out
get it. Oh God.
training multiple times. And when she brings the cut, you start making the tracks harder. They start to get longer. They start to add turns. Then you start to not scuff the ground as much to make the odor not as strong, and they have to continue to do repetitions over and over again of tracking.
Who's personally handling her with Corso when she's learning to be trained to track?
I was handling her because of my 10 years of experience being a canine handler prior to getting Corsa, is why I joined Officer Schumann in the 4 weeks of pre-training with Corsa and the 2 other dogs.
So it's a 4-week program before Corsa then is ready to be seen if she could be certified then.
No, we did 4 weeks of teaching the dogs their odors, tracking, and bite work so that they kind of knew what they were doing. And then after 4 weeks, Officer Fry and Officer Bergen, who were the 2 handlers that were going to be taking the other 2 dogs that we had, they were brand new handlers and never handled dogs before. So they joined us after 4 weeks of Officer Schumann and myself assisting her on the pre-training of the dogs. And then we trained for another 8 weeks. So we trained for a total of approximately 12 weeks with these dogs before we did our first certification.
So many weeks.
And you are with her throughout these 12 weeks learning her cues or her indications of what she finds or doesn't find during this tracking period.
Yes.
Explain to me, you said that Corsa will give an
Yes.
indication when she has found something. Explain that in layman. What do you mean by that?
When you're saying
She will
that
let you
found
know.
something, there's a variety of things in canine of finding
She'll-
something. Or you want me to describe her behaviors
Lay
in tracking?
down.
Let's first start with that.
Sit.
Just slowly describe when you started tracking.
She
what
will
does first do?
indicate.
So after I've gone through my routine of preparing her for the track, giving her announcements, I then give her the command to track. What I'm going to do is scan her. I'm going to scan her over an area that I want her to search and try to locate a track. So if we have an area where we believe a person has left the scene, walked, ran, she will scan. What I'm looking for is her cues of her head snap. So if she's scanning across and she's smelling the ground and all of a sudden she catches odor of where somebody has walked, I'm going to look for all of a sudden she's going to kind of stop and she's going to have a head snap because she's going to snap down to that odor. And then when Corsa tracks, she buries her nose to the ground. So as soon as she has that head snap and turn, she investigates and she buries her nose to the ground and takes off. In our terms of canine, we call that an on-ramp. Okay, she's coming across, she hits the odor, and she's onto the track. Now, when Corsa takes off tracking, like I said, she keeps her nose buried to the ground. I've got her on a long line, so I'm anywhere from 15 to 30 feet behind her, depending on what leash I have hooked to her and where we're at. At that point, once she shows me the behavior that she's tracking with her nose buried to the ground, she's wagging her tail. All I'm doing is holding her leash and I'm giving her a little bit of tension. And that is just that I'm right behind her. So then I try to stay behind her and all she's doing is pulling me, letting me know that she wants to keep going. And that tells me that she is on that odor. So placing all those behaviors together and watching her search with her nose to the ground, I can tell that she's tracking.
When do you know that she has found what she's looking for, that she would stop tracking?
So if it's her toy that's at the end of a track, as soon as she gets to that toy, she will stop and she will pick up the toy. And then we will play. We'll make it fun because it's a game for her that she's tracking. She knows that at the end she's going to find that toy. And then we play. So we make it fun so that the next time I bring her out the track, that's why she comes out of the squad car so excited because she's like, Dad's put my harness on. We're going to work. I'm going to go out and I'm going to search and I'm going to find my toy.
What about when you are actually looking for a person? Describe when she has found or that scent has disappeared. What are the signs or indication that you know that she's done tracking?
So when I am doing a track for a suspect, when Corsa's tracking, say there's a lot of things come into play. Say there's a turn in the track, and depending on your wind direction at that time, she may be tracking along, and the wind may push the odor of that track where she's currently at past the turn. So as soon as she runs out of odor, Corsa's sign to me that she has lost odor is she raises her head up in the air, and that's what's called a negative. At that point, I hold my position, and she starts to spin a circle. And she, with that tension from me on the line, she drops her nose back down and she starts to sniff the ground. all we're doing is spinning a circle, looking for what direction that track turned and went. As soon as she's coming along, she hits the odor of where the track continued on. Once again, straight back from what I described earlier, when she starts the track, I see that change of behavior. She stops, she smells, she has the head snap, and she turns and she starts pulling.
Officer Buckles, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I just need to make sure that you kind of slow down so our court reporter can make sure she gets everything. So just take a breath. You're saying a lot of information.
There's just a lot.
I understand, but just take a breath and slow down a little bit slower so our court reporter can get that.
Okay. While we're taking a little pause, you two in front look like maybe you're straining your necks a little bit. If you want to angle your chairs so they're facing the way you stand, if that would help, feel free to do that. You can even scoot back one if you wanted to, however. Does that help some? All right. I'm just worried about you folks getting a major crick in your neck. All right, Mr. Shear.
Thank you. And Officer Buckles, if you start to talk a little bit faster, I'm going to interrupt you just to slow you down, okay, sir?
Okay.
So where you left off, we were talking about when Corsa gives you a negative indicator that she kind of snaps her head up and then back down and goes in circles.
Pretty sure the court reporter can hear.
The portion where you said she
and
gives you a
can hand-
negative indicator.
Maybe
start
you
with it.
can't.
Okay. So once she gives me that negative, I allow her to circle to find the remainder of the track. Once she picks where there could be a turn, she picks that turn up, she gets back on, she's right back on the track. We're then back to tracking again.
And so what is her indication?
Because I don't even have it at
indicators
normal
that she
speed, and
actually
I
finds
can follow.
a suspect or
I'm not
someone that
typing
you are
it
actually
either.
trying to locate or track?
I'm
So
not a
there
court
could be
reporter.
two different endings to a track of a person. Say the person has hunkered down and hidden. When she gets to that person,
Hunker
if the
down.
wind direction's not exactly right, she may track right up to that person. At that point, she is going to apprehend that person by biting them. If,
Oh, damn.
depending on the circumstances, because every situation is different, when she's
You
tracking,
will get
she
bit.
gets close, and all of a sudden she can smell a strong odor of that person because the person's now hunkered down and been sitting there, and all that body odor is just pooling in the area. She will give me what is called a proximity alert. At that point, she will come up with her nose, and she will start to stick her chest out and put her nose up in the air, sniffing really hard because all that odor is pooling up. So at that point, if she gives me a proximity alert, I would stop her with her leash. And at that time, we would stop and I'd give more verbal announcements, giving that person another opportunity to give themselves up.
And you also talked about difference of tracking human odor with vegetation disturbance and tracking on the ground and that. What do you mean when horse is tracking and there's signs of vegetation disturbance or there's signs that a path or something's been disturbed? What is she looking for or what are you looking for to determine that there is actually disturbance there?
So through my training of canine schools, canine conferences, the dog is tracking the disturbed vegetation. Every time you step on the ground, as humans, we cannot always see it. We cannot smell it. Dogs can smell way better than we can as humans. That's why we use canines. So every time you walk across grass, you step on the blades of grass, you're actually cracking those blades of grass. That is causing a disturbed vegetation odor. Okay, it's different than anything else in that area because all the other grass is fresh. The dog is smelling that odor, following that. But then you get into whether it's like rocks or gravel, you still step on it. You're still creating a disturbed odor that is different than anywhere else right there. So the dog is following that path in a combination of humans losing odor as they are walking, running, and the dog can still smell that as they're following that disturbed vegetation.
And did you follow the steps and procedures to begin your track with this case as you've described to us on how you normally do a track for an individual?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this time, continuing with State's Exhibit Number 2, I would ask to publish for the jury the portion labeled Buckles Body Cam Number 2.
Oh boy, we get to watch another one.
After lunch on a Friday afternoon. We're not going to take a break, but before we get to the video and dim the lights a little bit, I want everybody to stand up and make sure we're all awake for
Oh,
a minute.
come on. We're all awake. Take a little breather.
All right, everybody good?
Give me a break. Give me
Okay.
a break.
Well, I have it. Got it here. Try this again.
I feel like we saw this.
I've got it on my screen.
We watched him put on gloves before. We did. Oh no! What happened? What's happening? What's happening?
For the record purpose, Judge, this video is about 26 minutes long.
Oh, well, shit.
That's why we took a stretch.
Or do we get to see the puppy again? Are you even gonna check on her? Oh, we do get to see her again. Oh, she's so excited. She's so excited. Go potty poo. Girl, go potty. You gotta go to work. You need to go potty. Even police dogs have a hard time doing the things. That's not just mine.
Sita.
Boy, Joe, look at her. Still got a big nose. Not a good angle. She still doesn't go potty. I don't have automatic lock. Key fobs. She doesn't like that.
Off. Off. Off.
Off what? Why is my camera glitching? I don't know. What are we doing? I'm just standing here. Stop it.
Justin, are you coming with me?
See, this is the house I was talking about over here. Look in there. Oh, you can't see what I'm talking about. The house directly across the street. This one over here. You can't see my pointer. The first one on the right. La-di-dee, la-di-da. What are we doing? Of course, you are breathing very heavy into the mic. Officer Buckles, she would like a drink. I think we could have, skipped this part. I don't really know what we're waiting for. We're just a-sitting. Just a-waiting.
Hey, Barbara, where are you at?
Barbara.
You want to come over there and walk with me? We can still do the back door from where Justin got tied up. I figure if we're just working right here, but Sarge has been over to talk to this lady. Brown walked through, so we'll work that, but we can still view the back door. Justin went across the street and he was going to walk with me. Off. Off. All right, well, I guess we go down. Brown took that path. Like yeah, he came down this way and got behind those trees to look in and see that the window was open. So I'll work that. We can work up in this yard here, but like I said, Sergeant all them will walk through here, so we'll try on that way. But well, unless you had a way up there or a car up there, if this was actually sunset up there. Sierra Space Canine, anybody in the area sound off? You will be bipping my dog? Sierra Police Canine, anybody in the area sound off? You will be bipping my dog?
Who will be bipping by my dog?
Yeah. Last and final warning! Sierra Police Canine, anybody in the area sound off? You will be bipping my dog? Clear her yard first.
Okay. She just looks like she's running all over the fucking place. She doesn't look like she's doing nothing. She looks like my crazy ass dog. If that's her training, shit, my dog could do it. I'm sure she's doing what she's supposed to do, but she just looks real spastic to me.
When you talk to these construction workers, though, at some point, they should know she's not picking too much coming through here, so. Yeah, well, and I'll watch it and I'll work the wood line through that path line. Good girl. Good girl.
How does she not get tangled? Like she knows don't go around a tree with the leash. I mean, that's a smart dog. I'd constantly be yelling at the dog, "You fucking dumbass! Now you're wrapped around the goddamn tree. Now I gotta come up in there and unwrap you." I guess since she's like not picking up on anything directly, like, and she is so spastic, maybe that's because she's not picking up on a track or trail of something. I don't know. She's not. Is this a trail I have behind right now? Very good leash control there, Officer Buckle. I said that and she got tangled. Hers got tangled.
Good girl.
Okay, I'm bored. You're boring me. You're lucky you have a cute dog. But she's not doing nothing but walking in circles.
What? Okay. Good girl. Oh. Good girl. Good girl.
This is I'm done. I find shit. Where's my toy? It's like, where's my toy? I am done. Yeah, she's tired. She would like something to drink now. Thank you.
Officer Buckles, is there any more searching that you do with Corsa when she lays down there?
No.
No. She said, I'm done. There's no more for me to do
Officer
here.
Buckles, I do want to ask some follow-up questions with what we just observed on State's Exhibit 2, the second portion of your body cam footage, okay?
Yep.
And remember, talk slow as well, please, sir.
Boy, shut
You
up.
get Corsa out of the vehicle about 10 minutes after from when you initially put her in. Do you have any concerns that any odor that you were going to look for may have been gone by then?
No.
Why not?
Just with the area with the grass, the timber area is nice and shaded, so it takes longer for odor to dissipate in those areas. And just the time frame when Corsa is been trained and has been successful on finishing tracks that are that have been sitting for approximately 1 hour or longer or somewhere around in that area, and she's done that several times. So I knew that she could still be successful at locating a track.
So 10 minutes is kind of a small time frame than what Corsa has been able to locate before in other longer time frames.
Can I ask, when you say the 10 minutes from when I placed her in the car to getting her back out the track?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was just more to put her away, let her get a drink, kind of figure out what was going on. I lined up Officer Kaczynski to walk with me as my cover officer, that's why I stood there waiting, because he was supposed to come with me, and then he got tasked with something else, so then I had to wait for Officer Barber.
And that was going to be a follow-up question as well, is why were you waiting for Officer Kaczynski, Officer Barber, or just any officer to join you in this search?
Anytime we do canine-related track area search, building search, we always have at least one, if not more, officers with us as our lethal cover, because we are watching the dog, we are holding the dog's leash, and we do not have our lethal weapon out as cover if we were to come across somebody.
So this officer's kind of acting like as your shield or your protector.
Correct.
Because your main focus is to watch all of these signs or indication that Corsa would give you.
Yes.
Were you concerned at all about the weather, how hot or how humid it was becoming that day?
It was a summer warm day, but being about 9 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't concerned with it. And like I stated earlier, with that, a lot of that timber area being shaded, that wasn't a concern to me.
We see when you get Corsa out of the car that she seems very eager. She's panting, breathing hard. Was that concerns that she wasn't going to be able to do her job?
No, it's just dogs breathe through their mouth as a way to get air to cool themselves, and they can't always constantly breathe through their nose. She's just excited. She's got drive. Like I said earlier, she's a Belgian Malinois. They're known for high drive. They love to work. She's excited to get out because she knows she's going to go do something.
And as we've seen that you're performing this track, you still hear that breathing and that panting. Any concerns that she's getting tired or exhausted and not able to perform this track successful?
Well, obviously, with any dog, the longer the dog searches and sniffs, they're going to get tired. Same thing as humans. The longer we try to sit and smell stuff, we're going to get tired.
That's why they
when
take
you hear
breaks.
her panting, all she's trying to do is just get more air. But when you see her track, when I go to the commanded track and she goes out, she puts her nose to the ground. She's sniffing the ground. She's closing her mouth. She's smelling the ground. She's scanning. She's going to come up at points and she's going to open up her mouth just to take a quick break. If she would have conducted that entire search that you guys saw with her mouth closed and just using her nose, that would have made her tired a lot faster. Dogs can still catch odor through their mouth, through their sensory glands, and detect the odor. And when they do so is when you'll see a change in them. That, as a handler, is what we watch for. That change of behavior where all of a sudden they close their mouth and they start smelling with their nose. So she's down using her nose to smell the ground. She comes up, take a quick
Makes
break.
sense.
She's breathing through her mouth. Even when she goes down, if she has her mouth open and is smelling along the ground, she can still pick up odor through her olfactor of her mouth.
We see multiple times in that video, you're kind of working that leash by giving it some tension or kind of releasing it or pulling Corsa back. Explain to me, what are we seeing when you're working that leash?
It's a combination of just, guiding her. She's working along. All of a sudden, maybe she might turn and start to spin back towards me. So I'm bringing the leash in so that I don't leave a bunch of slack leash in between the dog and I. And then she turns, she goes to work back out, and I'm just feeding her a little bit of leash to let her go explore and investigate. And then, like I explained earlier, once I see her change behavior where she picks up odor and shows me those signs that she's on odor and she's tracking, that's when I hold the leash tight. But just allowing her to freely search to locate that disturbed vegetation, I'm just working the leash to keep the slack out of it.
Are you anytime directing her or guiding her where to go?
If there's points where I let her go out and search, but then if I've covered an area and I want to go move to a different area, I might use the leash to guide her over to that area.
But in general, who is the leader in this search?
Of course it is.
She's the
We
boss.
saw
She
in
says,
your
nope.
body cam video
That's why when she
first
laid down,
portion
she says,
that there were
I'm
multiple
done.
people outside that home. They consist of officers, paramedics, firefighters. Were you concerned at all that with that amount of people in that close area of the house that had contaminated the area to do a proper search?
Observing, where we walked up to the house, went down that cement path underneath the deck to the back door, knowing the firefighters and the paramedics went down there. I knew that. And when I'm standing off to the side waiting to prepare the search, as I'm standing there, I'm overlooking the area that I'm going to do. It's routine before anytime I start Corsa. I'm looking at the situation that I have, the outlay that I have, and I'm deciding how I want to break this down into sections to work the dog. Knowing that was an area that several people had walked down that path is why I wanted to stay away, and that's why I started out farther. Another section of there is I knew Officer Brown had split away from me and went down that path by that tree. Therefore, is why I started her in the area that I did to go between that path and that house that was behind the residence. And what I'm looking for is she's checking that area that is fresh away from where Officer Brown had walked. And from my first initial observation of when I arrived on scene and was approaching the house, that I did not see anybody out walking around.
So it sounds like you tried to start a search where you had not seen or you don't believe there was anybody there when you first begin your search.
Correct.
So it kind of would not make sense to start a search where you saw Officer Brown standing.
Correct.
Or where you saw paramedics standing.
Correct.
Or even to do a search right by the basement door because so many people had come and gone already.
Yes.
Your Honor, can I pull up the map for demonstrative purposes at this time?
For dementia purposes at this time.
Our man approach the screen. You may. You should be able to see that also on your TV.
Yes.
See that?
Yep.
Hospitals, looking at me real quick. This is 4414, the Jackson House. Your search seemed to continue to go around away from the Jackson House down Scarlet Oak Court Northeast above the neighbor's house, making your way back. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you search any of the area with the driveway, the front of the house, basically the path that you would have took from your squad car to the house? Why was none of that searched?
Because I knew that was where our initial approach was to the residents. Myself, Officer Brown had gone up to the back corner of the house, Sergeant Hansen, we had all walked right through that area. Then also that was our in and out path for our firefighters and paramedics to get to Mr.
Well, there's
Jackson.
all that woods in there, though.
Attention as soon as possible.
An intruder could have
At
very
any
easily
time
went out
during
that
this
way.
track, did Corsa indicate the presence of an individual?
I did notice a change of behavior in her when she was working that rock path. In that area, I was having her work both sides of the path in the vegetation so that if someone did leave that residence and cross through the vegetation, most likely they would have stepped on vegetation or knocked vegetation over, creating that disturbed odor for her to pick that up. As we were working along through that area, she did cross over and come up to those two trees, and she buried her nose to the ground right there next to the tree and was sniffing it very hard. I knew that when she did that, she was smelling where Officer Brown was because I had seen where he had went and hunkered down next to that tree.
So when she did a change of behavior behind the tree, that was because where Officer Brown was standing.
Yes.
What about the area where you kind of saw a change of behavior near the rock path?
Sorry, near the what?
You said that you saw a change of behavior near rock path.
No, I was having
When
her
she
work down the
crossed.
rock path and work the vegetation on both sides
Both
of the
sides.
rock path. There's, I guess I'd say, overgrown bushes, plants type things. So I was having her check the vegetation on both sides of
Both
that rock path.
sides.
And I thought you said you
Because
saw
if he
a
went
change of
from one
behavior on
side-
that rock path. Was there? I'm just trying to figure out how many times did you see a change of behavior to Corsa?
So when she was searching the vegetation on both sides of that rock path and we were working down that path, I saw her change behavior when she got over to those trees where she stopped and she was smelling right where Officer Brown was by the trees to take a view at the back of the house.
Okay, so the only change of behavior you saw her was where Officer Brown was originally
Yes.
standing.
Yes.
You didn't see her change any behavior anywhere else.
No.
And you knew that the area where she changed her behavior, that's where you saw Officer Brown standing.
Yes.
And it's
In your
not an exact
experience
science.
As a canine officer, would you expect if an individual had been in a struggle with somebody and ran out, that there would have been some type of strong odor left behind or any odor left behind?
Yes, I would believe that a person who has done something wrong, committed a crime, broke into this residence, and things, went different than what I would assume would be planned, where now several people have been shot, that person would be leaving in a hurry. Therefore, they would not be careful on whether they're stepping on things, trampling over vegetation, breaking it, knocking it over, and they would be losing a lot of fear body odor because of the incident that just happened.
And what is fear body odor?
It's just, if you take any person, when you're normal,
Fear, body odor.
you still have body odor. Now you've done something wrong. You're nervous. Maybe a person starts to sweat, and just their nervousness starts to create more odor in the body. So all of my training throughout the years of canine, they've always talked about how the body loses more body odor when you have a fear odor or you're really nervous about something.
That's why they say dogs can sense fear.
Most of the time, or you usually try to, when you let Corsa out before
Never
you start
heard
the
of
track, is
fear
to
odor.
use the bathroom, play, and then begin the track. In this scenario, we saw that Corsa got out, played it briefly, but while she was doing her track, had stopped in to use the bathroom. Would that have interfered or affected her tracking at all?
No, there's times where they do. It's just when I was trying to break her before, she just, I guess, did not have to go to the bathroom bad enough where once she was searching for a while, she decided that she needed to stop and take a moment of a break.
Anything about her track that you thought wasn't performed properly?
Nothing. I worked her over a large area in that backyard for any pass of leaving that area, and I gave her multiple attempts of scanning her back and forth over and over again.
And did all of these events occur in Lynn County?
Yes, they did.
Thank you, Officer Buckles. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination? Mr. Johnson?
Okay, well, we're gonna stop it right there for right now, and that was the end of the direct for him. I don't know. It's not an exact science, and it's not whatever. I don't know. Like, okay, so you used your dog to see if there was any. I mean, and he gave all of her qualifications and all of this and all of that. And yeah, she could be qualified to do all of this. And yeah, I'm sure she's trustworthy. I'm not going to doubt the dog's capabilities to sniff. I'm not going to do that because I'm sure she's very good at her job. But again, like, how do you know? I don't know. But did they check all around? Because, I mean, if you are looking at it, there is a lot of wooded area around said house. I mean, it is, like I said, it's kind of the lower down level of house in the neighborhood. Probably has the less security than the rest of the house. Probably is more accessible. What is happening? See, I told you, I didn't do nothing today. Anyway, they probably didn't have as much security as the next houses. They probably, I don't know. But there's plenty of exits. And if they just didn't go that way to exit, the dog's not going to pick up on it. Now, did they check the other way? Are they going to ask him, did they check the other way? Why didn't they check the other way? Oh, no. We shall find out. Because he's on the stand for some more time. But we're gonna end it here. Yep. So, yeah. That was a cute puppy. This is a cute puppy. I'm sure she does well. But I mean, my dog can go from side to side and sniff things. That's what dogs do. I don't know why my camera keeps glitching. I didn't even do nothing. I haven't even moved it today. I haven't even touched it. I haven't done jack. I haven't touched nothing. I haven't rearranged nothing. I haven't touched nothing. Listen, when I tell you, okay, Lol, let me know. Well, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comment section below about this one. But on the next video, we're going to do his cross-examination, and hopefully, because I think it should be, I'll probably finish it out. Here, let me do some math. You know, they always say lawyer math, but I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not doing lawyer math. I'm just, oh gosh, that's so big. I don't want calendar. I want a calculator. I want the calculator. Calculator. So there's a 15-minute break in there. And then I'm pretty sure it ends probably around, oh shit. It's fine. Ba-dum. 7:12. So I don't know. We'll just finish it out on the next one. We're just gonna finish it out on the next one. It should be fine. It should be fine. It might be a little longer than the rest of them, but we're gonna finish it out on the next one because I'm not gonna drag it out. I'm not gonna drag it out. We're just gonna end it. Just gonna end it. Okay, bye. I'll see you on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay, bye.